Yo, what's up, everybody? How are we feeling? We are finally live, and we had a final day of joint practices. Hold up, technical difficulties. There we go. We had our final day of joint practices today, open joint practices. So fans are no longer, after today, going to be at training camp. Niners are going to get to joint practice on Thursday with the Raiders, and after that, they have a couple practices in their final preseason game and the season's going to be around the corner. So it was fun times. There was 14 open practices. I think I went to, out of the 14, I think only 11 were open to the public. I think I went to 11, I want to say. But yeah, I went to all of them. It was fun. It was a good time. I hope everybody enjoyed the coverage. I did the best I could. And, we got a lot of content. We got a lot of news. We were able to recap a lot. And today we want to go over the final open training camp practice. It was a good one. The team was lively, a lot of energy. Brock Purdy, George Kittle, they looked unbelievable. I want to go over some of the highlighted players. I think I made a tweet the other earlier this afternoon on who I felt like were the standouts. We'll go over that. Talk about Jauan Jennings. Jauan Jennings was in the news today. Big update. We need a wide receiver, is what everybody's saying. Yeah, what's up, Enrique, Carl, Christine, Debbie, Julius, Jimmy, Baby Radiant says it's been a rough month for injuries. It really has, hasn't it? Christine says injuries are crazy. We need a wide receiver ASAP, says Nav. I agree with everything you guys say. It's been rough. But we did get some good news today. Jacob Cowing was back today. Jacob Cowing, you know what? You give it, you take it away. Today, Jacob Cowing came back. He was out there on individual drills. He was looking pretty good. Like he wasn't hampered by the hamstring, but he didn't do team drills. I mean, you can't have too much of a good thing. I think the Niners were like, okay, he's back. Let's not get him injured, and let's make sure he just stays healthy, and they didn't put him in team drills. It was actually funny, too, because Jair Brown, he came back today, right? He was dealing with some, like, knee soreness. He was out there with in his pads, but he was with, like, the rehab group. He didn't do any individual drills. Then he goes to team group. So it's like probably the team was like, all right, look, we're going to limit you. We don't want to risk you getting hurt. So it's weird how they're handling some of these guys. I mean, makes sense. And then the greatest thing, Jacob Cowing, I saw him. I noticed him. He was out there. Bro must have stretched for like a good 20 minutes. Shout out to Jacob Cowing for stretching, because I'm sure his PT, hopefully his trainer, told him, listen, stretch so you don't pull that hamstring, young man. And he was stretching. I never seen a player stretch like Jacob Cowing in a long time. This man was stretching. Shout out to Jacob Cowing. I was so happy that I saw him stretching today, like a long time. Good for Jacob. Get your stretches. Get your stretches in, young man, because we don't want you to pull another hamstring, because guess what? Within that wide receiver, Chelsea says CMC and George are going to be carrying the load big time. They are, and they did today in training camp. We'll talk about that. And Ricky Pearsall. So Peter Parker says, I don't know why they don't listen to you, Raj. I had a conversation we were sitting there the other day, John Chapman and I, when the Broncos came, and he posted the picture and it went mega viral. Now we have Stretchgate, and a lot of people that didn't really think that's a thing started warming up to it. Even Brad. Okay, so me and Brad at the end of practice today, we was talking about it. He goes, dude, you and John were right. He goes, look, I really wasn't a big thing about stretching and all that. Like, I didn't think it was the big issue for this team. He told me, like, when he went to the Broncos-Niners game, the preseason game, he says before everybody was lined up on the Broncos and they were stretching on the ground for like 20 minutes before the 49ers even came out. And he was like, when he saw that, he was like, dude, just like in training camp, when we pointed out, the Broncos came out 20 minutes before the Niners and stretching. It's a big thing. And he told me, he goes, when I used to play football in high school, that's what we did. And I said, that's what you're supposed to do. I used to be an athletic trainer back in high school, and I was on the training team. And in college, I did athletic training, and I was studying for a PT and all this. And I worked in high schools, and all we made them do for a good 20 minutes before they even started anything was stretch. They sat there and they hated me. They stretched the crap out of the hamstrings, and they were like, oh my God, but it prevented injuries. So stretching is key. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, let's get to practice. It was a good one. Brock Purdy and George Kittle, it was like easy money. It was just, they are so locked in. Deep play to the left, deep play to the right, touchdown. Amazing. Who else looked good today? D Winters, he's looked great every day. Ricky Persall had a nice catch today from Brock Purdy. He's had a lot of good catches, but Ricky Persall has looked really good. Demarcus Robinson, I believe, also looked pretty good today. So hey, the receivers that are in, they look good. that's the good thing. Christian McCaffrey looked very, very good today. Actually, he has that bounce in his step. He's got juice in his step. I like what I've seen out of Christian McCaffrey the whole training camp, and he looked very, very good today. So let's take a look at my notes. So Brock Purdy to Ricky Persall, over the middle to Easy. Mac Jones and Robbie Chosen to the deep left. Chosen cuts up for the touchdown. You know, Kyle Shanahan says with all these injuries, he has a chance. Robbie Chosen has a chance to actually crack this roster. He's looked pretty good. Brock Purdy passed to George Kittle. It was like Purdy to Kittle, CMC. He got a run to the left, cuts up the field untouched. He looked good. Jauan Jennings was off to the side field today doing light rehab for the second straight day. That's a good sign. We're going to talk about Jauan Jennings. Let's see. Dominic Pooney comes down with the tip pass and runs it for a touchdown. That was the play of the – I swear, 49ers need to post this damn highlight. Okay? Brock throws it to Kyle Juszczyk, tip pass, and Pooney comes down with it. I was like, oh, my God. And I'm running. I'm looking at practice through the binoculars. I see 7-7 rumbling. Jets were on. He's running. I'm like, Pooney? Is that Dominic Pooney? That's Dominic Pooney. Touchdown. It was a spectacular play. Everybody was like just going crazy. You can see the reporters were like screaming their heads off. Everybody in the crowd, I was like, that's Dominic Pooney touchdown. It was fun. And Purdy threw a pass to CMC in the red zone, right sideline, had him down in the flat, just easy money touchdown. Those two guys were in sync. It was the final practice, and obviously, like I said, Kittle and Purdy just dominated the day, like back-to-back deep shots. 95-7 the game, since they're on the practice field, right next to the players. They could hear what's being said. This is what the quote was. So Kittle and Purdy were having themselves a day. They tweeted out, Purdy finds Kittle with the perfect throw over Jair Brown for another touchdown, and Kittle runs into the end zone and yells, that's another touchdown. They were hyped, like juiced. They were just so juiced, and that's what they had tweeted of what actually happened during the incident. Because, when you're out in the stands, you can't hear all that stuff. But they were juiced after the Christian McCaffrey touchdown. Kittle and CMC were juiced. Kittle, CMC, Ricky Persall, they're going to have to carry this team because there are a lot of injuries. I saw a couple guys rehabbing. Renardo Green, Isaac Guerrero were among them. But, a lot of players. Again, Kittle, CMC, Persall, you're going to have to take a lot of load for this team. And there's a reason, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Jauan Jennings. Yesterday, Brandon Ayuk was told that he's probably not going to be back for week 6, according to Kyle Shanahan. So those are things that we have to keep an eye on. One thing I want to talk about real quick before we pivot to Jauan Jennings, this is the big news of the day, was Ben Bartch, 49ers starting left guard. He departed practice midway through team period. It was unclear why from Nick Wagner. He tweeted out, and then I did some more digging. Apparently he had like an elbow or shoulder issue from Matt Barrows. Like, I didn't see him leave. I saw Connor Colby playing with the first teams, and I was like, oh, Connor Colby, maybe he earned himself some reps. I didn't see Ben Bartch out there. So it makes sense that he walked off the field during the session. Brad told me he caught it. Like, he saw him walking up back. I didn't even catch it because I'm focusing on like Kittle and the certain plays on the team. I didn't see Ben Bartch walking away. I saw Connor Colby there, but it appears that Ben Bartch could be, I don't know, he could be hurt. Hopefully it's nothing serious. They haven't reported anything, but keep an eye on that. And if Ben Bartch is hurt, this is his problem. This man cannot stay healthy. He's a walking injury. And I feel like at some point in the season, it's going to happen. I don't know, but it was something to know. All right, let's move on to the Jauan Jennings news, the update. This was a huge update, according to Tim Kawakami. But also, you have to take what Tim Kawakami says with a little grain of salt and preface it as a rumor. But see, he's been pretty good this offseason. I feel like he's been pretty reliable, but not 100%. So, according to Tim Kawakami, Jauan Jennings and the 49ers are not close to striking a deal. They're nowhere near a deal yet. This is what Kawakami says. He says, I checked around, and my understanding is that the 49ers feel that the timing is all wrong. He says they don't want to give Jennings a big new deal so soon after he signed the last one a year ago, right? Giving Brandon a year after giving Brandon Ayuk a huge contract that the 49ers money people almost instantly regretted, and months after signing Brock Purdy to his $265 million deal. So yeah, last year they signed Ayuk. They just signed Brock Purdy, 2 big contracts. They regretted the Ayuk signing. We've heard that story many times. And then Kawakami wrote, I've heard that the two sides are not close to a new agreement, which shouldn't be a surprise after the 49ers rounds of cost-cutting last spring set up their new deals, Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, and George Kittle. Beyond that, the 49ers have clearly indicated that there isn't much more money to pay out, and certainly not a wide receiver with Ayuk's $30 million year a deal already in the books. So it's like the Niners don't want to shell out $30 million or, big money for a receiver. You're paying a guy $30 million that might not be ready till at least week 6. And the timing is just, it's bad. And it feels like the 49ers, they're like, damn, man, we paid you last year. We paid Brandon Ayuk, and that burned us. And we just paid Brock Purdy. We need to pray that pans out. So it's a tough situation. So my man Ryan says, what's good? Cowing's back. He is. Lat says, look up dynamic stretching versus static stretching. I know the difference. I've implemented both as a PT, but I'm telling you, the dynamic stretching the Niners do, it's not enough, man. It's not enough. They need to do, well, they don't even stretch their muscles that much. Like, yes, they do dynamic, but they get ready and they just go right. They go right to their drills. They'll do a little dynamic, but I feel like their muscles are just so cold going into team drills. They don't have enough blood flow. I feel. It's my opinion. I've been in the game for many years in terms of rehab and training and all that stuff. And like I said, the Broncos do it like you're trained early, young, in schools and colleges. That's how they do it. And I don't remember seeing too many crazy injuries back in the day when I was around, those schools. But obviously they're not NFL athletes. I know dynamic stretching helps, but you'd be surprised when you see the difference on the field. Niners and another team, it's kind of eye-opening. But anyways, let's see. That's the news for Jauan Jennings, though, is they're nowhere near a deal, according to Tim Kawakami. That's big news. That is big news. The fact that Tim Kawakami is saying that they're nowhere near, the timing's bad. I mean, I hope they can figure things out. Today, Jauan Jennings was on the side field for the second day in a row, trying to do some light rehab during team drills. Now, it's interesting because he's doing it during team drills because you can't have your phones out. You can't get any videos of that time. Strategic, right? Because he knows if he's out there during early portions of training camp, we're going to get videos. Either one of the beat reporters, the beat writers, myself, somebody else and anybody else that's out there getting content, he's going to get that content. And I don't think he wants that virality. The Niners are kind of playing this different than last year with Brandon Ayuk. They don't want a viral moment. They probably told him, don't come out. We don't want to have you dapping me up in the middle of the, practice. We don't want you training and people seeing that you might actually be healthy instead of injured, because there are people that think it's a conspiracy. And it's kind of interesting because they're playing this as if he's got an injury, right? I'm starting to think that it's not, that it's business, right? Because last year, what happened? It was Brandon Ayuk. He didn't really have an injury. And then then there was a point where they did say that Brandon Ayuk had some, can't remember what it was, but he was soreness or something. He had something, a neck. I can't remember exactly 100% what it was, but they started saying it was an injury and, he's going to hold in. I feel like it's the same thing, but this is a different, grander scale because Brandon Ayuk was already like to the mega stratosphere, and he was already like ducking the team. There was a lot of shade thrown, and it was like, a little toxic. This Jauan Jennings, he did everything by the book. Came to practice. He took his physical. He was out there for a few days. He looked fantastic. He looked superb. He was one of the standouts. And then his calf started hurting, and he has not been anywhere to be seen. Now he's doing some rehab on the side field during team drills, but nobody can see it. I mean, we see it when we're out. Like, you can see it. Like, the media is going to tell you, but you don't physically see it with your eyes. So you don't know really. You don't have the video to see what he's looking like. So it's a little interesting. It definitely seems like they're protecting Jennings in this situation so it doesn't get too crazy with the media. They said today, oh, yeah, he's practicing or he's doing light rehab work. he's got the calf injury, he's got the calf injury, he's got the calf injury, and I feel like that's allowing them to keep everything kind of under wraps until this story came out today. This is like the first time we really heard anything about the contract because it's all been focused on the injury. So I think they're doing a good job of avoiding drama. This was like the only real update we've had in the last couple of weeks because last year with Brandon Ayuk, it was every day. There was drama, there was tension, there was turmoil, there was toxicity. I feel like the 49ers have done a better job. I think they've learned. They're like, okay, let's just pivot to it being an injury. He's out there. He's rehabbing. Nobody's going to ask about contract. They try, but they turn it into and they spin it into, well, he's got the injury. Oh, well, he's doing light work on the side field. So I feel like the 49ers have handled this better than the Brandon Ayuk situation. So I need the Meta glasses. Yeah, well, they're cracked. They found it. So actually, one of my friends was out there today with the Meta glasses. I don't know. You guys might know him. Dylan, he does some content on Bay Area sports. Dylan the Dragon or something. I think he's on Instagram. Anyways, it's not important. He had the Meta. He was showing us. And, I saw he saw a video. He said it was so crystal clear. I looked on his story. Yeah, he was filming with the Meta glasses. But I do remember them today. This is the first time I heard them say it during the whole training camp practice that they said if you have glasses on during training camp, like sunglasses, specifically, he said sunglasses, you got to take them off. So I'm pretty sure they know there's people with the Meta glasses now that are out. So they got it down, man. They're going to take away your phone. They're going to take away your sunglasses. If you have like prescription glasses, that's fine. Now they need to make a prescription Meta glasses, but they said if you have sunglasses on, take them off during team drills. So, but yeah, I need to get those. What happens if you take out your phone? They confiscate it. They kick you out. You're done, man. You're cooked. You're basically cooked from training camp. They're really strict during that period of time. I mean, trust me. If I had my phone out, you'd have a lot of different content than you're getting. Everybody would be posting crazy content. I mean, if you remember from some of these joint practices, like Minnesota a couple years back, you had actual content from during the plays that were happening live. So I know a couple people that posted that stuff. They've cracked down a lot on these things. Other teams, I feel like you see different content. You're allowed to film that kind of stuff, or they're maybe just not as strict. Because if you look online during training camp season, you see like teams, the Jets, the Giants, the Titans. You see such actual gameplay, like game training camp practice footage. Niners don't. And if they do, when they show their highlights, it's super cropped up, very tight. The angles got to be very specific so they don't show you the formations and stuff. So, what day is the Raiders versus Niners joint practice? It's Thursday. Do the Meta glasses have transition lenses? I'm not too sure. I have to look into that. I actually haven't done too much research on them, but that's a good question to ask, MSQ. I'll look into it, find out. Yeah, those things look pretty cool. They look sweet. My friend says the video is like unbelievably clear. So, anyways, that's pretty much the big news. Like I said, the big story for sure is Jauan Jennings in this situation. I hope it gets rectified soon, but your guess is as good as mine. So we'll see. I will be live tonight with Larry Kruger, and we're going to talk some more about training camp. But the last thing I want to kind of go over is just my standouts at training camp. I was there every day, and I saw some good. I saw some bad. I want to talk about the good players and give them their flowers. And before we do that, I almost forgot the 49ers worked out some receivers today. Of course they worked out receivers. Of course the 49ers worked out receivers. What do we talk about? Injuries and receivers and all these things, right? So the 49ers, they worked out Frank Darby. He used to be on the Niners actually for a brief period. Kwame Lassiter. They worked out Jalen Camp and Malik Turner. Malik Turner used to be on the Niners. But come on, it worked out. Frank Darby, Kwame Lassiter, Jalen Camp, and Malik Turner. I'm going to roll a dice, and whoever lands on, that's who they're signing. It's camp bodies. They just need somebody to fill a roster spot. They need people to go out there and play and handle the roster spots until, roster cut downs. But those are the guys they're bringing in. There's a lot of people who are upset because they said, I saw the comments. People are like, Keenan Allen, did he die? Oh, not Keenan Allen. Amari Cooper, did he die? Gabe Davis, did he die? I forgot Keenan Allen already got signed, but it was the comments were, what happened to Amari Cooper? What happened to Gabe Davis? They're not trying to sign those guys for a camp body. They're going to sign them. It's going to be after the 53-man roster cut downs, and then they go get a veteran. I think that's what they would do. And also the money. We just talked about Jauan Jennings. They may not have the money for Jauan Jennings, right? And that's why the timing is off with this contract. You think they're just going to bring any other geek off the street and sign him to a pretty decent contract? No, these guys are going to want to get paid more than Frank Darby and Kwani Lassiter, Jalen Camp, and Malik. Bottom line. These guys are not going to get paid much. They're camp bodies. You're not paying them what you'd pay Gabe Davis and Amari Cooper. So OBJ, that guy's probably close to retiring at this point. But yeah, let's get to the camp standouts. So to me, there was two like superstars. I'm going to give them the best offensive player and then the best defensive player, and then we'll do the honorable mentions, which I posted in my tweet today. Let's go straight to offense. The best players at training camp on offense, it was George Kittle. It was by far and away George Kittle. He looked so good. Him and Purdy were electric. Their connection was fluid. He made so many big highlight grabs, numerous, touchdowns. He was just on another level every day. George Kittle every day showed at least a highlight grab. He played great in training camp. Brock Purdy, he had a great connection with them, and you could just tell that Kittle is primed for a monster season. They got a lot of receiver issues, right? Kittle's going to be their main guy. He's going to be that guy. He's going to be wide receiver one. So I'm telling you, man, George Kittle was, to me, the best offensive player of training camp. Now, it was close. I'm going to go through my honorable mentions. Ricky Pearsall, he was a close number 2 to George Kittle. He consistently made big plays. He looked smooth. He built fantastic chemistry with Brock. This guy was so dynamic. He looked so comfortable in this offense in year 2. I was so happy when Christian McCaffrey came, when Ricky Pearsall came back. He just looked on another level. Him and Brock were cooking. There was days where they dominated the whole practice together, just like Kittle did on multiple days. But he did have some, days he missed, and, they were trying to ramp him up a little bit. So I kind of feel like that has to be just a little bit behind Kittle. Although when Pearsall was in, the guy was flat out unbelievable. So those two were the best receivers / weapons on the offense. Okay. A couple other guys that are going to get an honorable mention. Christian McCaffrey, you could tell the bounce was back. He just looked so electric out there. Brock Purdy is very consistent. He had really good training camps. He definitely looked like a franchise quarterback compared to whatever else was out there during the training camp practices. Demarcus Robinson, very consistent. He had a good training camp. Jordan Watkins, man, I'm so sorry. It sucks that he got injured the other day and got the high ankle sprain. He had such a good training camp, and you could tell he carried it over into that game. He was a very big standout. And Mac Jones, I got to give him his credit, man. He looked very consistent. All those guys looked very consistent throughout the training camp, and they got better. Mac, you could tell he improved just almost daily. Like, he picked up this offense quick. He looked good. He had a good connection with Watkins. He was really, really impressive to me, Mac Jones. He picked up this offense very fast, and he seemed to really get more confident and trust himself and trust the receivers throughout the process. So I really liked what I saw to Mac Jones. A guy that I didn't write and I didn't mention that after I wrote this, I said, I should have probably given him a heads up or some flowers. Colton McKivitz, I felt like he had a pretty good training camp. There was days where him and Nick Bosa were going back and forth, and he was giving Nick Bosa a little challenge here and there. I think that's huge for Colton McKivitz. I thought he did a good job in training camp. He was strong on his one-on-ones, and he's got the mentality of he wants to be a Pro Bowler, and I like that. If he's a Pro Bowler, it's good for the Niners. I'm not going to hate on Colton. I know people hate him, but I thought he played really good in training camp. So those were the standouts on offense. On defense, the best defensive player to me overall was D. Winters. I mean, the improvement, the jump that he made this year from the last 2 years, it was massive, man. His coverage skills were so impressive. That's what you see him. You compare him to any other linebackers other than Fred Warner, and you're like, whoa, this is a good linebacker, right? Coverage skills are great. He was outstanding in the run. He made so many big plays in the run, just like always dropping the shoulder. I don't know how many times he cooked Isaac Guerrero. Maybe that's why Isaac Guerrero is injured right now, because D. Winters was giving him the 1-2 every day. He was easily He easily sealed the linebacker 2 position in training camp. So shout out to D Winters, man. He had a fantastic training camp. Jake Moody, we're going to talk about him last. He'll be the last one I talk about. I got a big update for Jake Moody. I forgot to mention. Honorable mentions on defense. Upton Stout, man. The growth he made from day one to the end until he had the calf issue was magnificent. This guy, he had multiple PBUs. He won one-on-one battles with like Ricky Pearsall. The battle he had with Pearsall throughout camp, it was just pure cinema. Him and Pearsall was such a good matchup. Upton Stout, oh my God. I don't know how many flying PBUs I saw this man make. On Christian McCaffrey, on Ricky Pearsall, this man was flying in the air like Superman multiple times, and he made some nasty PBUs. So shout out to Upton Stout. He played good. CJ West, this guy was a man. He was a monster in training camp, especially in the one-on-ones. Like nobody could handle CJ West during one-on-ones, man. Michael Williams, he was so sharp in training camp. He looked like he stood out almost every day. It's hard to miss him, but he stood out for good reasons. Sucks that he got hurt in the joint practice. But this guy before that was having a fantastic training camp. I like Michael Williams. He has a bright future. A couple other guys, Sebastian Valdez, he looks very strong in training camp, and he put that into the game, and we saw how good Seabass was. Jacob Robinson, undrafted corner from BYU. He was so good. Jason Pinnock, the guy was a solid player throughout training camp, made a lot of PBUs. He was around the ball a lot. Dallas Flowers, very underrated corner. I don't know if he makes the roster, but he'll definitely be on the practice squad. I was really impressed with him. Nick Bosa, God, this man dominated folks throughout training camp. And Fred Warner, he had like a PBU almost every day. This guy, obviously, Fred Warner. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, those are like easy, but they looked incredible. Like, you're going to have 2 superstars on this defense. A lot of the other guys, like there was good players that just didn't play. Like Diamond Lenore, he missed some time. He did have a good camp, but they also limited him a lot in, drills. Trent Williams, he was, he's great, but he was limited a lot. He didn't practice many days. So those are, the guys that really took it home for me. Those are all the standouts. So, and the last but not least, Jake Moody. I'm not going to lie to you. Jake Moody, ever since they got rid of Greg Joseph, he hasn't missed a field goal. He was 7 for 7. He made 2 50-yard plus field goals today, but he has no more pressure. He's the kicker. He doesn't have to compete with anybody. You see, that's where when I saw that today, I was like, oh, he has no pressure. There's no pressure on him in practice. And without another kicker, he was missing him when Greg Joseph was there. So I'm a little worried during the season. But I'll tell you what, I'm sitting there watching. They did their first set of team drills, and Jake Moody, first one, I'm like, okay, 1 for 1. Second one, 2 for 2. Third one, he's at about 35 yards at this point, 3 for 3. Fourth one, he's about 40 yards at this point, 4 for 4. Fifth one, about 45 yards, 5 for 5. I was like, oh shit, he's cooking. Boom. Sixth one, they take it all the way back to like 51 yards. I'm like, no way. Kicks it. Good. Goes for one more. I'm like, they're going for one more? Backs it up. Had to be about 54 yards. And he made it 7 for 7. I was like, Jake Moody, 7 for 7? The guy next to me looked, he goes, he made them all? I was like, he made them all. He made them all? He made them all. Do it in a game, though. Do it in a game. Yeah. Jake Moody, he got that dog in him today. You want to know who has that dog in him? You want to know who has that dog in him? Jake Moody did today. And the last day. Papa J says the last 2 years, the draft has been really good. It looks like this draft class is going to be good. I mean, they haven't played a game, other than preseason, but training camp, they looked very good. Preseason, there was a lot of standouts. I'm very excited about this rookie class, and I think it's going to be very promising. But you're right. If they can hit, and these guys that look good in training camp continue to play good during the season, 2 absolutely phenomenal draft classes. I agree. Showboat says the special team still crapola. It seems better than last year. If you watch that game, we got a good return man, Junior Bergeron. He looks good. Bro is returning punts with his shoes untied today, and then he finally tied them up. He didn't miss a beat. I feel like this special teams might be better this year, but it's too early to tell. They brought in a lot of guys for special teams. We'll see how it goes during the season. But shout out to Jake Moody. perfect day. No hate on Jake. And with that, I bid you farewell. I'm going to go live with Larry in about an hour 15. We'll be back. So see you guys later. Take care. Have a good night. Love you. Go Niners.